Reconvene in open session and welcome everybody to tonight's regular board meeting for the School District of Amery Board of Education. And we will get underway and begin with our spotlight on education. Looks like we got middle schoolers here tonight.
Yeah, we have a great group of middle school teachers. And we have a committee. This is partial of the committee. They're going to introduce themselves. And we also have some outstanding students that are going to come and present as well about our project-based learning initiatives at the middle school. And I'll turn it over to the group.
All right, I'm Danielle McCall.
I'm Lori Lightsky.
Tammy Milberg.
Alan Carlson. And there's three people that are not here tonight that are also on this committee. Greta McCarty, Mariah Oft, and Kate Weisenbeck as well.
And so we began our journey a couple years ago, just as the rest of the district did, looking for different opportunities for student education. And our mission has always been to create more opportunities for creativity, more ideas to, more ways to explore ideas, increase collaboration and critical thinking.
So we started a couple years ago in June. A group of our committee members went down to Watertown to a PBL conference. They learned a lot there. Then we spent the 2016-2017 academic year doing some site visits. We went to Hudson and we visited specifically their high school where they do interdisciplinary project-based learning, in particular with science and English. We came over here to the intermediate school and visited AIM to see what they do and what that's all about. And then we ended our site visits in Woodville at Viking Middle School, particularly looking at their Genius Hour and how they do that. And that is who we then modeled our Genius Hour after, which is what we're really focusing on tonight in addition to our Create class. So the summer of 2017 led us to working on Genius Hour curriculum. Woodville was gracious enough to allow us to have access to, actually anybody can have access to their curriculum, and so we just kind of adapted it to meet our needs and our schedule and how we thought that would work best for us at the middle school. And so then just in January, this year we rolled out our Genius Hour, and so we're about halfway through at this point, and we'll share a little bit more with you in just a few seconds on that.
So that was the process of where we've been and what we explored. So as far as implementation goes, what we decided was we wanted to have as many opportunities for all kids. Has been our focus all along throughout the middle school. And so we launched Genius Hour, which we'll find out a little bit more about details in a moment, and we'll have some students present their ideas for their projects. We also have our Create class, which Mr. Carlson will fill us in a little bit. But we also have many interdisciplinary units. For example, I teach social studies. I work with the foundations teacher. We do a writing unit where they study a civil rights person, and then they merge history, and then the kids write an encyclopedia article about that. We've also done science and foundations working together too, merging catapult data and then how to analyze statistics. So we're doing that throughout lots of classes, and then we have many applied arts classes as well that offer a lot of opportunities for project-based learning. Genius Hour is not a brand new thing, and so many districts use it across the entire country actually, and so we have a video clip that we'd like to show that explains the basis of Genius Hour.
Students of all grade levels engaged like never before. I present to you Genius Hour. This is where student passions come to life. Genius Hour has been based on a proven fact that students development. They allow their developers to spend 20% of their time at work on projects that interest them, provided that it has the potential to advance the company. The idea is simple. Allow employees to focus on their own passion projects and productivity will go up. There are many commercial projects that were developed by these 20% projects, including Gmail, Google Talk, and Google News. Fortunately for students, educators have grasped onto the idea and coined the term Genius Hour. This is where teachers allow students to work class that aren't motivated by the traditional school environment. The beauty of Genius Hour is that it provides a path to intrinsic motivation. When students have a say in their learning, they become much more engaged, their confidence is boosted, and the entire learning process becomes, you guessed it, fun. I have 3 rules for Genius Hour projects. The first rule is there must be a driving question. The student needs to be able to communicate what they want to learn about. If we can go out and find the answer on Google with a quick search, then the question is going to lead to speaking. Secondly, the project must involve research. If a student wants to build a model rocket that goes 200 feet in the air, then they need to provide the resources they use for that project. The last part is the project must be shared. Ideally, the project needs to be shared not only with the class, but shared with the entire world. Some example projects that I had in my 6th grade classroom that turned into really great projects with 2 students that learned to code at codeacademy.com. One girl developed her drawing skills by creating a sketchbook all about rules. And yet another student brought awareness to the dangers of smoking by creating a website. Genius Hour.
All right, so we have some of our very own students here tonight, if you want to come up, ladies and gentlemen, to share their driving questions and what their vision is for their presentation coming up in May. So they will introduce themselves and then share those pieces with you.
I'm Rachel Garvis. I'm in 7th grade, and my driving question is, can you teach yourself how to play the ukulele? And I'm just planning to practice and learn things about it, and then I will present by playing stuff and then having a poster about how I did it.
I'm Haley. I'm Tia. And I'm Grace. Our driving question is, how are sunsets and sunrises made, and how can the weather affect them? And we plan to present our facts by making a Powtoon and a model and a collage. Pictures.
I'm Jonathan. My question is how to start a business. And, well, I want to present it with a simple PowerPoint, maybe a pamphlet, and a poster.
All right, thank you. Finally, and we do have a little invite up here if we can get back connected, but sometimes technology just works in funny ways. On May 18th, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., we would like to invite the entire Amery community to our AMS Community Genius Expo, and this will be the morning that all of our middle school students will be presenting their Genius Hour projects. You heard a very little sampling of our amazing driving questions, and just imagine every 6th grader having a driving question, every 7th grader, and every 8th grader. Even some teachers have their own driving questions that will be presented on May 18th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the middle school. So we hope you can join us. We're going to turn it over to Mr. Carlson and his create.
Thank you.
I also have a few of my students here as well that are currently in my Create class. As you can see, come straight from volleyball to here, so they're pretty involved kids. That's really awesome. I've got Emily, and I've got Reese, and I've got Jonathan here. This year we are really lucky to have 4 sections of Create class, as opposed to, we did 1 section last year as kind of a pilot, and it went pretty well, and this year we've expanded it to 4 sections. The first 2 sections are just wrapping up now this week. We'll start with 2 fresh sections next quarter for the last quarter of the year. Jonathan is in my 5th block class, and we really focused on things that are high technology things, flying drones, stop motion video, rolling, jumping drones, robotics, and some video game production. The video that hopefully we'll be able to play in just a minute, when I'm ready, we'll highlight some of those things that these people have done. The 5th block class some of the video games that they produced are actually going to be used as part of our reward day this coming Friday. That was a choice station that students chose, and I think if we could have had 100 students in that, we probably could have fit them all in. It's really a popular station, so I'm really excited for that. My 6th block create class, Emily and Reese are both in that class this year, and they are working on projects. You are on the same team, correct? So there's 2 teams in our class. Each of them created a catapult launching device that will hopefully be used to launch pumpkins this next fall for our pumpkin contest. That's something Mr. Benson has wanted for many years, and I think it'll be successful. We're going to do a trial run this Friday for our reward day. We're going to launch T-shirts as prizes for our kids, so that's going to be a lot of fun as well. So you'll see the progression in the video that they took along their journey, making model catapults and then model trebuchets, which I thought was a very cool experiment, and then we went on to designing and making 2 separate devices. I think that's about it. Anything that you guys would like to share?
It was awesome.
It was really awesome.
Maybe mention the next 2, what you're doing the next 2
Sure,
years.
you bet. The next 2 classes coming up now. One is going to be a construction-based class. We have a staff member at the middle school who is looking to have us build him a chicken coop. So it'll be our keystone project in that class. And the other class is going to be focusing on small engines. And we've gotten a really nice donation of engines that are lawnmowers and chainsaws and rototillers and all kinds of fun things that we're going to dig into and learn some of the basics behind those as well. So I'm really looking forward to that group.
Do you want the video?
You bet. Yes, each gummy worm was eaten off as that. In this station, the students set up the obstacle course and attempted to fly the drone that I bought this year through that course. So they got to learn what it is to be a drone pilot.
Do they make it or not?
It's harder than it looks. rolling drone, and it rolls and it rolls, turns, and jumps. So you'll see the jump at the end here.
Do they program it? They program it off the computer?
This one they drive. They can drive it with a screen without kind of remotely.
questions.
That was a lot.
That's just the first thing.
All right.
So is that the model for the pumpkin catapult, or is that just a, I don't know, a work in progress?
The last one you saw is the final model
Oh,
that
okay.
they've
Awesome.
made.
Right.
Yep.
Pretty awesome.
Yep. One
You're
thing
gonna
that
keep him away from it, right?
exactly.
Yes, you can't touch
Okay.
I've been inspired by the work that they've done, and also inspired to find ways to tell your story in different ways. This stop motion video that we've added to our middle school library in our makerspace has really been a neat addition, and really a good way to tell what you're doing and put it together in kind of an entertaining way. So for me, it's been a very good learning experience.
Awesome.
Yeah.
About Genius Hour, how often do they get to work on their Genius Hour?
So we meet every Friday for not technically an hour, about 50 minutes for the whole second semester when we're at school each day. And we did a little adapting because of our weird schedules that we've had the last couple weeks. So we did actually move one to like a Wednesday since we didn't have the Friday available type of thing. So quite often.
I've been amazed. I've been around a lot of them, and some of them are studying how specific deer antlers grow. Why do they grow different ways in different types of animals? Some of them are studying depression and the effects of depression and medications that people use for and other alternatives. There's some real campy type things to some very, very serious issues that kids are tackling, and it's all over the place. But there's probably several hundred different driving questions. And we'll have a really cool map about all the different driving questions and all the different sites. And then when people come, they can pick and choose to go see something that they would want to, or their own child, or when we're inviting Orleans Building to come over and take a look at it. So, and then the students are going to be presenting, and then they're going to stop every half hour. They're rotating through so they can go see their peers too. So we'll make sure that everyone gets involved in learning out about the other driving questions. Part of the purpose then is that each one of those students becomes an expert in that specific topic for our school, and then we'll catalog everything, and people can look back and say, I'd like to learn about it. Well, here's a genius project that was done. What do you think? And they can use it to learn from. So it'd be kind of cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All righty. Well, we can move on to our consent agenda items.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items. I had them this month, so.
Yep, and I'd like to just ask if we could make a quick amendment to the minutes of the special meeting on March 12th, and we add the word signed in front of the word ballot, just to make it explicit that we had signed ballots. That would be helpful. Are we good with that?
I'll second that.
Okay. So there's a second on the table. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Just a quick, before we get to community comments, I did want to make a highlight. Last month we had somebody just ask about how to get on and how to do community comments, and it's being done pretty much the proper way here today. But just as an FYI for the community, that community comments are, if you want to get in and talk, all you have to do is come in, sign your name. We ask that you be either a district employee or a district resident or somebody that is been invited by the board. So the policy is pretty explicit that you can make comments about any agenda item at the appropriate time. We're usually pretty lenient on that. Try to keep it to 5 minutes. Be careful that we try not to get political or anything on that as well. So that we move ahead. So that was that, and I see we have two. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. I'm here to publicly thank all the Amery school staff for their hard work and dedication through the stressful times that we saw years ago and for the present time. I recently reflected on some budget cutting years 6 years ago when I was on the Amery School Board. I'm still very thankful for the District Administrator Steve Shield and for our Financial Officer Twyla Sickink for their guidance at that time. Together they presented many budget options. They helped maintain our OPEB, which is Outstanding Post-Employment Benefit System, and our funds balance so that we didn't rob that, and then it caused some issues there. We moved ahead with technology and curriculum, but we maintained our high rating through that fund balance, which gave us finance options. We lowered our interest rates on several loans, which then created and eased up several $100,000 over the course of the time. And it also set plans in motion for the success of recent referendum. Under Twyla's conscientious work, we always had excellent audits and budget projections. In January, only 2 months ago, the auditor again praised Twyla for her fine work on the audit. Even the school board members here present thanked her for her outstanding work. Twyla has helped many of the staff here and many of the retirees that come to her and ask questions and guidance in their finances and help there. She has overseen board vouchers for each month, calling us board members to come in and sign them. And when Lynn and Chelsea, you were too busy with things going on, she actually brought them to your house. Board vouchers, what they are is the month's expenses. And it's a box, and sometimes a box and a half, that you go through, and it's every receipt and every expense that this school district incurs. And it's, well, if you're spending $18 million, there's a lot of them. And so, I mean, when I was in there, I would ask questions of Twyla, and she was spot on to help me understand and gracious my dundering on asking these questions and that on these expenses. I just thank her for that. Twyla worked even this last fall on our fall staff report, which nobody knew how to do, so she was delegated to do that. She had to reference DPI, CISA 11, other school district people to try and get this report done, which was due at basically around Thanksgiving time. Twyla had some help there with Clint Wallen to button it all up, and she got it in on time. And this shows the dedication that you have to this district, no matter what. And I thank you so much for that. It shows your total commitment to the district. I'm thankful for Twyla's professional expertise as the school district's finance officer. She's an excellent and valuable employee and a friend to many, myself included. We are fortunate that Amery is able to hire and retain such valuable employees as we have, from our professional to our paraprofessional staff. I take this time to thank them all. And I wish you good night. My second thing is I have my statement for running for school board. And I'll give that to you, Dan. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next.
Mrs. Glenna.
Good evening to everyone. I'm Shar Glenna. I just thought that I would stop in tonight and introduce myself for those of you who don't know me, although I think those are very few, as I've had several kids come through the district and met some good people around here and a couple that are left. And there's a saving grace at the end. She's at the end. So I just wanted to let you know that tonight I was going to announce my candidacy formally for a write-in candidate for the Amery Board of Education. So I appreciate the support, and I would like to turn my papers into Dale as well.
Thank you.
All right. We can move on to administrative reports. Mr. Cookta.
Okay, I'll start with giving administrators a chance to report, and then I've just got a couple things briefly.
The gauntlet of testing is not nearly over. We have finished our ACT. We have 2 makeups that actually happen tomorrow, and then 5 makeups on the ACT work keys that happen the next day. But results are in. I've never been happier to see boxes picked up by the FedEx guy in all my life. Thank you to Mrs. Ganji for boxing them up and shipping them on their way. We have the ACT Aspire and the forward exam on the horizon. And the second item, it is spring sports season, if you didn't know. I know that the weather is not indicative of that. Our coaches are getting used to each other in the gymnasium, but we are full on. Everyone has begun, and now we're in a holding pattern. We've already canceled sporting events. We had some home games next week. I'm sure you can imagine that wasn't going to work out very well, even if you shovel the base paths. Thank you, Mr. Rose, for Mrs. Rose. And that did happen.
As Sean said, we're doing as well as the ACT Aspire, the forward test, which is the state test for grades 3 through 8, and then it has 2 components for the 10th grade. And our teachers are doing a really nice job getting prepared for that, getting the students prepared for the technology part that will come. And that's a pretty big initiative. Just to give an example, out of the 4th and 8th grade, they'll take 4 English tests, 4 math tests, a writing test, 2 social studies tests, 2 science tests. And that's just 1 grade level, and we have to do that for 3, 4, and the staffing and the coordination is pretty intense. But we're excited to see how the students do. Just a couple real positives. We had a very, very successful Destination Imagination run this last couple weeks ago, and I want to give my hats off to all the coaches. A lot of people don't realize when those coaches are all volunteers, mostly parents, putting in an immense amount of work with these students. And I want to also tip my hat to Laura Sjogren, who is the coordinator for the Destination Imagination program. She puts in amazing, countless hours. Everything is done perfect, and I think she makes the program run really well, and I think we're a flagship program because of her leadership. And we have 5 teams that made it to the state tournament, which will be coming up here this Saturday in Stevens Point. So we're excited to see how they do. There are teams from the intermediate, middle, and high school that are going on. So that's cool. And we're in the middle of Spring Fling, which is kind of middle school celebration. It's not looking too springy out there, but if you come into the building, you can see all the nice spring decorations and the kids dressed in Hawaiian shirts and things, and then you might feel a little more springish. But we're excited for that. That's our 19th year we've had Spring Fling. And then Quiz Bowl. We just finished Quiz Bowl in 6th grade, and we had 24 students competing on 6 teams for the Ultimate Championship. So we had a pretty successful run with that. So we're pretty excited about all the kind of fun gifted and talented type of programs being run right now.
The only thing I would add about forward testing is we're trying something new this year, and all 3 of the intermediate grades are going to test on the same week. We feel that trying to do that will lessen the impact on our special ed students, on our special classes such as title, and that we're going to try it. So for the week of April 9th through the 13th, all 3 grade levels will do testing at the same time. And there'll be information coming home in the family folder giving parents details on that. We will go into the next week because, as Mr. Benson said, 4th grade has many more tests than 3rd and 5th. And so we'll need to do a little testing the week of the 16th and 17th. And then just a really fun thing happened last Friday night. The AIM students were invited to display their natural heritage projects at the Hungry Turtle. And so they had a showcase evening at the Hungry Turtle, and it was a huge success. The Hungry Turtle said it was the most visited open first showcase night of their gallery. So we're excited that for the next month, the students' work will be at the Hungry Turtle. So stop in and see it.
Okay. March is a very busy month. Couple things that are happening. This Thursday night, we have a parenting workshop. It is called Parenting Strategies That Work, put on by Terry Colrush, nurse practitioner at the Amery Medical Regional Center, and it's from 6:30 to 8, and it is free, and we have free childcare. So that is something exciting for our families. We also just finished our, I think it's 15th annual Jump Rope for Heart, and our students collected $15,000. It was a new record for Jump Rope for Heart. That's an amazing feat, and I want to really recognize Danielle Peterson, our Phi-Ed teacher, who is just, no pun intended, who is just amazing, and she just gets the children fired up. And we actually had a brother-sister team make an online video that they posted to YouTube, and it raised $1,000. So pretty exciting. April 5th is our Art and Literacy Night. That is when we showcase the elementary children's art along with their young authors books. So they have authored and illustrated a book. And we have a special guest visitor, Derek Anderson. He is an author and illustrator. If you're familiar with the Little Quack series, it's a little duck. Very popular for children our age. So we're excited to have Derek Anderson as the entertainment that evening besides our young authors books and our children's artwork. One of the big things that's happening right now, which is new, we're getting ready for the 18-19 school year, and we are starting to accept registrations for our different programs that we offer at Leon Elementary School. There are several of them, and we're trying to make it as easy for families to understand the options that they have. So we have the Montessori Children's House, which is for 4K and K children. We have the lower elementary Montessori, which is a multi-age first and second grade for next year. We have a project-based learning environment, which is a first and second grade multi-age, and then our legacy classrooms, which is our new word for traditional, because traditional has really changed. It's changed the look of what happens in a traditional learning environment to meet the needs of our children. So we also added this year an option for a legacy multi-age, and if there is enough interest, we will also run that, which is a first and second grade multi-age classroom. Families have said, we just finished with parent-teacher conferences, and there were many questions. What do we do for our child? What is the best program for our child? So this year, we are trying something new, and we are offering open houses during the school day. The 3 that are left are March 22nd, April 4th, and April 22nd. And so our entire building is open from 9 o'clock until 10 o'clock. Families must pre-register in order to come in, but they are welcome to observe in any or all classrooms. We do have some specific criteria that we're asking parents to follow as they come in and sit in the classroom, but we thought that might give, in the past we've held evening open houses, and we maybe get a dozen parents. This time we're just giving them options, and hopefully families that have questions will take the time and come in and observe. And I want to thank the elementary staff, because that's really going above and beyond to open their classrooms to families to observe. So thank you to the elementary teachers for doing that. At the end of each session, I will meet with any of the parents that are there and answer their questions also. So thank you.
Okay, I just have a little short blurb to share with you. Last week, the district pupil services team completed their annual mental health screening, and I wanted to share how much support we get from our community. And I wanted to thank the following professionals who volunteer their time. We couldn't do it if mental health professionals wouldn't come in and share their expertise. So Mary Thurer from Amery Behavioral Health, thank you. Roberta Carlson from Polk County was a volunteer. Joel Gibson and Caris Johns Christian from Family Therapy Associates also helped. So we very much appreciate that.
Thank you, all of the administrators. I just want to mention what great administrative team we have, and the excellent reports. I don't want to steal any of their thunder. I want to mention all of our staff that are here. It's great to see you, and all the presentations we have. We do have a lengthy agenda. I've got about half a minute to a minute, and I'll just mention a couple of things. We had a school safety meeting with Amery Police Department and all of our administrative team and other administrators last week, working on the crisis plan so that we can get that completed and updated, and that was planned prior to the Parkland, Florida incident, but we're working on updating that. There was also a district-wide school safety assessment that took place, and we're working with Heartland Communications to complete that. The WASB convention was in January, and we had several board members and staff attend, and that was an excellent convention. It was about telling our story. That was the theme this year, and as a school district, it's important for us to tell our story, and we always work on that. If you focus on the screen up there, you may or may not notice we have a new screen. It's much bigger and hopefully can fit everything from the projector on the screen, so I thought I'd just point that out in your room surroundings. We also have many job postings due to the retirements, and we'll be working diligently in the next couple of months on filling all of those postings. And lastly, I would like to welcome Tom Stengel, Amery Free Press. The Free Press is here, and also WPCA Radio, I know, does a great job. We have a weekly school report, and Mrs. Meyer I got to listen to on the internet this morning, who presented, and many of our staff do presentations on Monday mornings as a public service. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you. Move on to the informational items. Mrs. Hutt.
Nina? Okay. In the meantime, you want me to do the legislative update? Okay. Okay, so just as a legislative update, I just want to mention that there are 6 safety bills that Governor Walker is proposing. Those are moving forward, and I just saw online, this wasn't scheduled earlier today, but they are doing a public hearing tomorrow on the 6 public safety bills. So there's a lot of talk about $100 million being proposed in Wisconsin for additional funds for school safety, and it's pretty exciting to hear that.
We just want to be careful. Just if you talk to people, it's great. Nothing disparaging against but we need to remember back in '94 when the COPS program came out that we took advantage of that here and hired along with the city, a school resource officer. Then a new administration came in 98, 99, whatever it was, and cut that funding. So all the schools that had gone out and hired resource officers were basically left to fund that all by themselves, which turned into some, in the beginning, if you remember, it was $100,000, I think, or something that we got. I don't remember exactly. It was even before I was on the board, but it was a lot of money. And then all of a sudden it got cut off, and I know we're not alone, that there were a lot of districts that were left kind of hanging with the purse strings. So we want to just make sure that any help is welcome from the state, but that it's a sustainable program as well, that it doesn't just Band-Aid things during an election year. My 2 cents.
Do you have the PowerPoint?
Sorry.
Well, that's coming up. I just want to say, so Clubhouse is in, believe it or not, the middle of its 3rd year. It just doesn't seem like it's been that long. And as Anjanette will talk about, the before and after school program is going on, is in its 11th year. Currently, we're fully enrolled, 8 infants, 4 on the wait list. And we did expand last year when TLC closed, and we've managed to keep that expansion by some creative placement. We use the before and after school room during the day to house 4-year-olds. And this summer, because of the construction and changes that'll be going on at the elementary, we are moving the entire program over here to the intermediate school that Orr was so gracious to find a home for us. And we're all really excited. I think it's going to provide a lot of opportunities for our summer program and some new experiences for the kids. And 25 children, at the time that I wrote this last week, that have been through our program will be going into 4K in the fall. That's going to be actually up at least to 30. I've had this week 5 more parents contact me about enrolling their children this summer. So we're definitely moving kids in. Our expenses as of March 1st, Twyla showed me our expenses. We're at $347,000, and our tuition revenue was almost the same. It's a $206 difference that we are negative. So we are doing what we need to, pretty much breaking even. We're really focusing on school readiness and literacy, even starting with the infants. Reading is the fundamental skill needed for learning. It doesn't matter if you're learning math, science. I mean, if you can't read, you can't learn anything. So as you can see, they're working on their writing skills. Our little guys are even learning how to flip books in the right direction, play music. All of our skills, we're scaffolding on the things that we're teaching them, and that's just going to lead into when they become lean elementary students. We use the second step social emotional curriculum for our 3 and 4-year-old classrooms. It's the same curriculum that they use in 4K in kindergarten, and Cheryl Leslie was kind enough to help us purchase that. Every classroom uses a WEMLS-based curriculum. We do Portage Guide assessments on all of our children from infancy on up. We do conferences with the parents. We make referrals to special ed birth to 3 for early intervention. We're making sure those kiddos who maybe need speech are, we're finding them early, getting them the skills they need, the help. Birth to 3 has come in and worked in our classrooms. Cheryl's people have worked in our classrooms where if they have students that need time with typically developing peers, we make that happen. And they are invited to come into our room and play with our kids. And so it's been a really wonderful partnership. And our little engineers there are quite proud of their blocks that they're building. And our 1-year-olds are learning how to, well, it might be upside down, but how to properly hold a marker. They're learning. So they're every day they're learning and growing. And we also have a really great partnership with the 2nd grade students. They get to show off their skills and teach, and they get to come in and read to our kiddos. And as you can see, this picture was taken while they were reading, and then our little guy, after they left, grabbed a book and was reading to himself. So it's been wonderful. And that's Ann Jeanette's part, but I just wanted to say on the literacy, so Miss Nelson, who has all of our kids that will be going into 4K next year, they wrote their own book. And so they dictated to her, and they all got to be little authors. And every parent was able to purchase one. We did it through Scholastic. And so our kids got to tell their own stories and see them written down and take that home and share it with their families. So just that's one of the really wonderful things that are going on in our clubhouse. So now Mrs. Osro will talk about what is going on with before and after school and summer camp.
So we are very lucky to have such a well-supported and far-reaching program. You can see we have 128 active students of 142 kids. That's kids in grades 4K through 5th grade. Approximate breakdown, 96 of them are at the elementary school and 32 at the intermediate. We average about 40 kids before school, which kind of works in our room. Afterwards, we don't really fit in there because we average about 75. We are at 2 sites after school, both one room at the elementary and one room at the intermediate. And as Nina mentioned, we are in our 11th year. And this is just sort of an example before school. It's free play. We like to encourage kids to work on friendships, work on building skills. This little guy was so proud. You probably can't see it, but it says it's his camera. So he made a little camera and he was taking pictures to show his mom. And on non-school days, when we have a whole day to entertain the kids and try and keep them busy, I get to plan the activities. And so one of the things the kids really love to do is to cook. And so here each kid got to make a pizza and then make a little container of dirt pudding and bring it home, and they're so proud to share with their families that they got to participate and make this meal for their family. And so our summer program, which we're just kind of gearing up for now and planning, last summer we had 117 kids enrolled, and we averaged probably close to 50 or even 60, and some days more on those field trips that are really popular. So we've got a great crew. Kind of notable, 19 of those students weren't enrolled in our school district, so they're coming in from all around. And this will be our 10th year. This picture is kind of special to me. We tried to involve the school, and so I asked Mrs. Anderson, our elementary art teacher, if she would be interested in coming in, and she broke the kids up into 2 groups, and she did what she called cookies and canvases. So each kid got to make a picture and take it home and share with their family. And just a few other things. We love to be outdoors. We try to encourage the kids to get to know the area. So here we are hiking at D.D. Kennedy Park. The kids love to go to the water park. We just like to keep them active and enjoy the outdoors as much as possible.
And that is our wonderful program that we are so grateful that all of you support so much.
Great, thank you. Next, Mr. Cookta.
Okay. At this time, I would like to present a certificate of achievement from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards and a nice pin to Chelsea Whitley for level 2 membership.
Thank you.
Very good.
All right, next, budget projections.
Okay, we are always working on the budget and often work ahead to the next year's budget. And as we are looking at the budget, we have the Baird model that we use for budget projections. And Twyla was kind enough to work on updating some of this with Baird. And I just want to point out a couple of things. Now, this is a 7-year projection. Last year, current year, next year, and the next few years. As you get further out, and it's hard to see the screen anyway, but these are based on key major assumptions. So the circle there you see, number 6, that's September enrollment. And you see our current number, 1,534. Well, it's highly unlikely we'll have exactly that many students next year, but that's one of the key assumptions that we have to make as we do projections for next year. And then the per pupil increase, we don't know what that will be. Actually, we know what it'll be for next year. That it'll be a slight increase next year, but then beyond that, as you go further out, We don't know what the state budget will bring. It shows last year's equalized value, so the value of the school district is about $878 million, and it shows 2.42% increase last year. This year, over a 3.57% increase. And so where that arrow is, number 8, as you go across, we put in a 2.5% projected increase. Some years it's been a negative equalized growth, and some years it's positive. Even in past years it's been up to close to double-digit increases. But we don't know. It's kind of an assumption that we have to use. But you can see that the budget grows, and the major change this year is adding almost $2 million on Fund 10 revenues, the line 10, and that's our major increase in the budget. And there's a revenue expenditure projection. We just have bar graphs for that, and it looks good for the years coming. We have a projected increase of state aid of about $450,000 next year. Now again, these are many assumptions that are made, but you can see if nothing else changes, if nothing different is done, you can see the 2017 mill rate of 11.18, the current year of 11.14. So again, the school district mill rate went down, and the projected, again, with assumptions, it could be continuing to drop, but again, those are many assumptions that have to be made, and as we get closer, we'll have actual numbers. That's all I have right now, and I know we've got a long agenda, so I'm happy to...
Any questions? Okay. Thank you. Up next, Mr. Derfler.
Okay. Youth options is being eliminated per Wisconsin State Legislature and Governor recommendations. So the rehearsed speech that Darren and I have been doing for 12 years or however long it's been, we can't do that anymore. Almost, because some of it's going to look the same. It would not be government if we didn't eliminate that program, plus a program called Course Options, and introduce 2 new programs. So now we have 2 new acronyms to know: the Early College Credit Program, ECCP, and the SCN, Start College Now. So add that to your acronym book. ECCP is for 4-year schools, UW schools in the state of Wisconsin, and Start College Now is for your technical college system. And as luck would have it for us high school administrators and guidance counselors, there are 2 different sets of requirements for 2 different programs. So there's a visual that I provided. I'm not sure if you have that or not, Jim, but if not, I can walk you through that. There are really some pretty significant differences between the 2 programs that I'm going to share with you. First of all, the ECCP, which is again for UW schools, you're eligible from freshman year through senior year, and the Start College Now, just juniors and seniors. Typically, our students do not go to UW schools for youth options. Now the change in title. Typically, they go to WITC in New Richmond. So in 90% of the cases, it's going to be the Start College Now model. We set our own academic requirements and attendance requirements and other such requirements for the WITC model. The state of Wisconsin and colleges can set different recommendations. We can't set any kind of requirements for the UW system, and that's the same as it's always been. We can't set those requirements. Application timeline still the same. You have to get your stuff in by March 1st. We have 4 students here tonight that have done that for the fall, and then October 1st. Actually, yes, October 1st for the spring. Timelines are the same. Credit number is the same. 18 is the most we can approve. We've never had a student more than that. The big change is the financing of this. For students that go to the 4-year option, the UW option, the school district is still liable for 75% of the cost, which isn't as good as I would have hoped, but it used to be 100%. The state is accountable for 25% of that, and the family is not accountable for any portion of that. So that's a slight change. But for the WITC version, or the technical college version, the school district is accountable for 100% of that cost. So Darren and I can still do some of our same rehearsed speech that we've done for the better part of a decade. Because this evening, all 4 students, for a grand total of 23 credits, are all going to the WITC option. And I'm not sure how you want to do this, Jim, if you want to have approval now or approval when we get to the action items, but there are 4 students requesting to do this for the fall.
I just take care of it now, huh?
Okay.
Okay, so with that, I will take a motion to accept those 4 acronym inclusions.
Start college now. Start practicing.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
There's a first. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Yeah, we'll let Erin do it just
Yeah,
because.
Erin from habit.
Break her in. Any discussion on that? And I'm not even getting into it, so.
Okay, we know.
All right.
Required GPA
The required GPAs.
for the ECCE, for the SNM.
3.0.
It's like I want
We
somebody
all
to say,
have met
"What?"
that.
afterwards.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right. Did you have more, Mr. Derfler? or
I
is-
do not.
Is that it? Up next, then, Mrs. Meyer.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm
send it
giving
to
the
you.
annual update on AGR, which stands for Achievement Gap Reduction. You have seen this little table before. Not this one.
The next one.
There's a little PowerPoint. Right there. Basically, again, AGR stands for Achievement Gap Reduction, and the district receives extra money from the DPI for our participation in this, and it's based on our free and reduced lunch applications in the district. And I was just looking up the dollar amount that we were projected to receive last year, Twyla, and I don't know if you can confirm this, but we were projected to receive $420,000 because we are a SAGE school and because we maintain lower class sizes. Again, because of our high population of free and reduced lunch. But anyway, this chart, you're going to see this same slide 3 times, and then Ms. Schock is going to come up and show the 3rd grade. I'm going to report on kindergarten and 1st and 2nd grade. And basically, you will see the same thing on all 3 charts. You're going to see reading at the top, math at the bottom. You're going to see the goal, and all of our goals are based on 80% of students. We want them to achieve at the 25th percentile or above. And then we have to say how we are monitoring that. And at the elementary school, we monitor it through Ames Web Plus, which is an assessment for early literacy, for reading, and for math. Ames Web Plus for assessment of early numeracy. And then we have to describe how we are implementing strategies to provide support to our students. And in most cases at the elementary school, it's class size reduction, meaning 1 to 18, or if we don't qualify for the 1 to 18, even if one class goes over and is 1 to 19, then we go into small group instruction, which we end up doing both for all children anyway. And then at the the last column is really what is important to you and to me, is we have to identify the number of students that have met the goal at the mid-year, and then I will be coming back again in the spring and telling you how many met the goal in the spring. So basically, again, a repeat of everything. The fall benchmark tells you the number of kids that fell below the 25th percentile. In the winter, it tells you the number that fell below the 25th percentile. And then I give you in the red, right below the red, is the percentage of children that met the goal. So in kindergarten and reading, at this point in time of the year, because we just finished our testing, 69% of our children have met the goal. Our goal being 80% or above. In math at kindergarten, and there's a common theme throughout all of the elementary school, math is looking better than reading at this point in time. At math, we had 94% of our children meeting the goal, which is 101 out of 107 students. So, next slide. So in 1st grade, we have 65% or 66 children meeting the 25th, above the 25th percentile. And again, math shows stronger. We have 82%, which is 83 children performing above the 25th percentile. Next slide. And then this is 2nd grade reading. We have 74% or 73 children performing above the 25th percentile.
And in second grade, we have 82% or 81 students performing above the 25th percentile. So again, our goal is to get all of our children above the 80th, or 80% of our children above the 25th percentile. 25th percentile is low average. Average goes from 25th percentile to the 85th percentile. So there's a range of students in there. So, any questions? Okay, Orly.
And my numbers are just a little bit different, but the same premise that Mrs. Meyer just talked about. But what we wanted to do this year is we not only wanted to report the below the 25th percentile, but we also wanted to look at the 50th percentile and above. And so in the fall, you will see what our numbers were. I'm just going to go over the red numbers because they're the important ones. And so with the 25th percentile, we're going to want to see a drop because we don't want the kids there. And in the 50th percentile or above, we want to see it raise because that's where you want your kids to go. So in the fall, in reading, we had from fall to winter. In the STAR reading, we had a 15% drop, which means we moved kids out of that 25th percentile, and we had a 17% increase in the 50th percentile or above. And then DIBELS is our second measure in reading. We had a 6% drop in the 25th percentile and a 2% raise in the 50th. So that's third grade reading. And then the next slide shows math. Same deal. Third, in the fall with our STAR math, we had a 6% drop and an 8% increase for the 50th percentile. And then AIMS is just strictly computation. And we had a 2% drop going from fall to winter. And then we had a 19% increase in the 50th percentile. So it's some excellent scores. Any questions?
Yeah, just so are you assuming some of that new curriculum and that will be some of our, I mean, what are your assumptions on that or your goals on that?
For reading and math?
Yeah.
So right now we're in the middle of looking at a reading program.
The math is the one that we just did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the middle of looking at that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But I would say for the elementary school, one of the things that we did differently that Mr. Kupta supported was we purchased a program called Dreambox,
right,
which has made a considerable amount of difference for our children.
And how would you say?
Their math scores are better. It's because they're spending, there's a required amount of time that they spend on the program, plus that the kids have access to that program at home, and it's game-based, so they like it, and so they enjoy it, and they play it, and their math scores increase. That's what we're thinking. We're also thinking for both reading and math, just the implementation of professional learning communities, providing opportunities for teachers to talk to one another during their school day. 1 day a week is set aside for professional learning communities, and they look at reading and math. They're constantly doing informal assessment, identifying those kids that need intervention. They're looking at whether the interventions are working or not. So I believe that has a strong impact too on student learning.
Okay. I would say the same. Just making sure that math is a priority has really helped as far as bring the scores up into my building.
Great. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks. Ms. Nelson.
Good evening. I'm Stacy Nelson. I'm the Director of School Nutrition. I am updating you. It's going to be primarily based on last year's information. So our school breakfast program last year, we served 97,155 school breakfasts. That is a daily average of 550. It's not as high as lunch, but it's slowly going up. Compared to last year, I looked at the numbers this year.
And I think that I've changed the menu a little bit, so we're offering a little bit more variety. Our current meal prices right now, we're offering free breakfast for any student that is qualified under the free or reduced meals. And then as far as our free and reduced meals, currently district-wide we are at 38%. Lean is at 43, intermediate's at 41, as well as the middle school, and the high school is at 29%. Compared to last year, it's about the same district-wide. You can still stay on the first slide. Sorry. No, that's okay. So it's the same as we were last year, just a little bit of fluctuation in what each school is falling under. Now you can go to the next one. National School Lunch Program. Last school year, we served 178,645 lunches during the school year. That averages about 1,000 meals daily that we're providing to our kids. We followed a 5-week cycle last year, which means like it repeats itself every 5 weeks. And this year we're following a 4-week cycle. I've decided to rotate some seasonal meals in and out, and that also gives us the chance to experiment with more kind of semi-scratch meals, which I think is a nice change for the kids. I've also, this is a picture of a taste test that we did this year. This was at the middle school. If I make changes and I think they're great, that's awesome, but if I don't get the kids' input, I'm not really doing much good. So I want to try and get more input from the kids, and that's where I'm going to take that going forward, by possibly making a student nutrition advisory council. So then I have a group of kids that can come and give me feedback on either current menus. We can do smaller taste tests so it's easier to carry out. Then the next one. This is about our summer food service program. The numbers that you'll see here, the red is 2017's summer, and then the tan is the breakfast from 2016. So I've made the numbers go up. We're reaching more of the community. Then I broke it down by month, because you can see that that first month when we have the summer program going on, that's where we reach a lot of kids in the summer. And then our July and August, the numbers have increased. I think that has something to do with the programs that Laura has implemented, but then I've also added things to the summer program. Power Up came and joined up with me to provide more nutrition education. Then I had themes throughout the summer as well. You could go to the next one. These pictures actually show some of that. On Thursdays, we did Thirsty Thursday. We talked about the importance of hydration, and we provided fruit-infused water, and the kids really got a kick out of it. I was gone at a conference, and I heard when I came back that they were wondering where I was on that Thursday because they wanted to try a new flavor. So it was cute. And then this picture is Power Up came up with the idea to do fruit kebabs, and we use little mini cookie cutters and cut watermelon shapes out so they can make their own fruit kebabs. The community participation, I think that having a little activity has brought that participation up a little bit. There were some regular families that came, so that was nice to see. The revenue generating, our account came out in the black again, so we're doing good with not pouring extra money into the program. And then, like Nina had mentioned before, we'll be hosting here at the intermediate this year throughout the entire summer, and then the middle school as well through the summer when they're here in June. And then also another exciting thing, I have a student from Stout that is interested in getting some field experience this summer. So I will have an extra helper to help carry out these nutrition education. So I'm excited about that. And then the next slide. Now you guys like to see the numbers. So this is our beginning balance in July for the Fund 50 account. And then the revenue generated from the 16-17 school year, and then our July beginning balance for this school year. Our department does have needs.
So this balance, I have use for it. The elementary dish room is nearing its end. I did have permission to start getting some bids. So we'll see where that comes back. Since how we are renovating already, it makes sense to do it now. And then the high school kitchen, the service setup, I'd like to look at that too as well. So I have ideas. And then a middle school combi-therm oven is nearing its end too. So do you guys have any questions?
Do you anticipate the federal government forcing us to raise prices again next year?
They have not published the new PLE tool, and I was going to plug the numbers in the old one, but I just didn't have time to get to it.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to do
So hopefully not. I know, like, regionally, we're kind of higher than most schools, but not by much. So hopefully, I know that we don't have a high enough balance yet, even with that number.
Well, and it has to do with the free and reduced rate then too, right?
The PLT,
No.
the PLE tool is just based primarily on the paid meals. So the paid meals, they want to make sure that the revenue that we get from the free and reduced program isn't paying for
Right.
other things.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Yeah. So when we've had, I don't know, probably twice now in the past month where the kids have gone, where there's been 2-hour delays for school, do they still get breakfast on those days, or is that somehow, what happens?
So since I've been here,
Okay.
they've never done breakfast. So when we have a late start, we come in at 10, and then the first lunch is starting at 11.
Oh, okay.
So there's a really short time until we're putting meals out. So prior to me, it hasn't been done. This issue was brought to me as an area of concern with the repeated 2-hour late starts. So the first time it was kind of the day of, so I came up with the idea to let's do a milk break early and give them a little snack. But as far as claiming that as a breakfast, because you have to follow certain components, you can't claim it. So then now this last 2-hour late start, we provided a cereal type of a breakfast so that we wouldn't have high waste. And then I heard a little bit of feedback that the kids were too full to eat lunch. So,
okay. You've heard the same concerns as me. I was just wondering how they're being addressed.
I mean, do we want them to eat breakfast or do we want them to eat, no matter what? I can continue to offer that easy breakfast if that seems to be what a majority of people want. But then the people that have complaints, I don't want to hear it.
Good luck.
Okay.
Actually, I would like to thank Stacy for offering breakfast.
That's a great idea.
It very much impacted my building, my little people. The teachers were thrilled that breakfast was offered, and I would like to see it continue.
I agree.
And Thursday too.
Different flavors every Thursday.
It means something totally different to you, though, Tom.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Move ahead with our action items. First, the hockey co-op.
Okay, it's time that we renew the co-op, and this is the application completed by Mr. Gould, and I'd like the board to consider continuing the co-op with area schools.
Okay. I'll make a motion we continue the co-op.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next, student insurance.
We have some quotes. Twyla went ahead and received quotes from two different people that offer, companies that offer student insurance, and they're both in that attachment, correct? So we have an excellent price. It actually, I believe, did it go down or stay the same? But there are more options that are offered that are being covered for no additional cost, as I understand. So the first one is $31,346, and the second quote is that right?
That's Our current carrier is Student Assurance, and there is no cost increase. It stays the same. The only change is the number of students, and I let them know where we're at with that, but their cost hasn't changed. Mr. Kupta mentioned some additions to this policy that also were at zero increase is a coverage up to $25 for prescription drugs that are sent home with a student from an injury. And so the injury has to occur, and if they go to the ER and are sent home with some type of prescription drug, there will be some coverage for that. There's motor vehicle injury, and a newer one that the rep was excited about is replacement of eyeglasses, hearing aids, and contact lenses as a result of an injury. So there has to be an injury sustained, but if a student were to fall and break their glasses in that fall and they receive treatment for that fall, the glasses then would have, I believe it's up to $300 to help replace the glasses. The key is there has to be a treated injury that made the glasses break or made the contact lens or hearing aid become unusable. That's the key caveat, is there has to be a treated injury. It just can't be they fall off in the hall and break. There has to be a treated injury. But those were at no additional cost. So that's our current carrier at the $22.95. Everything stays the same. And First Agency was the first quote at $31,436.
Okay.
So our recommendation is for continuing with student assurance, which we've been happy with, and they are keeping the price the same and offering more services.
Okay.
And it's a lot less than the other one.
Right.
So,
Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion. Oh, do you have a question?
I'll question after.
I'll make the motion to go with student assurance services.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
My question was, on the first quote, it did state off-season conditioning. Is that something that the other one would cover as well? So,
yes. They're apples to apples.
They are, okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that moves ahead. Next, the summer school, Ms. Sjogren.
Okay, we have 3 additional classes. Last month, the school board approved the entire long list of courses. These are 3 courses that are additional to that, and they're required to be approved by the school board. And she was recruiting K-1 classes to offer more selection for students. Was able to secure a teacher, so we recommend these 3 additional classes.
Okay, I'll take a motion to accept those.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Yep.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, CESA 11 shared services.
Okay, I did not attach the entire contract. It's many, many pages. And what I recommend is that we would continue the shared services contract as is from the current year. Any additional or new services I would bring forward to inform the board, but we'd like to continue with the same contract as the 17-18 school year.
Apples to apples.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take a motion to accept that.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Good.
Next is a revision to the April 18th, 2016 minutes. And if we scroll ahead, you'll actually see the minutes and the highlighted portion. And something that was key that was missing was policies that were passed. We checked back on the YouTube video and it was just missed, where the second reading was approved for pre-expulsion and expulsion policies. The board passed pre-expulsion policies which were never in place in the district prior, and we had a need for doing that, and as we looked up the policies, they were never updated, so it's just something that we have to amend the minutes, and it is noted. Cheryl went back and watched YouTube, and actually...
So at that timestamp is where it was noted on the...
That is correct.
Yep. Okay. And I did look at that. All right, take a motion to revise those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second? All in favor, or any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, next is the school calendar change.
Okay, if we can open up the school calendar for next year. This was just approved recently, I think January, by the board, and we have a need due to the ACT ACT Suite Key.
Work Key.
Thank you. Work Keys test. As you can see, February 21st is a day that it actually was the Pentagon Day, we call it. It was the day that would be morning in service and noon to 8 or 1 to 8 parent-teacher conferences and a no school day. And Wednesday was going to be conferences after a full day of school. Well, that would mean no juniors would be in school on that Thursday. That's statewide. Everyone takes the work keys. All juniors take the AC work keys. So we had some good discussion with our administrative team, looked at options. If we move it up a week, that whole week, then it would be only 3 weeks into the quarter. If we move it back a week, then we potentially run into other conflicts. So we decided just to flip the days and recommend, since it's a calendar change, it goes to the board. So it would actually be an in-service day and parent-teacher conference day on Monday, which in some cases is not ideal. However, it would allow us to have students at school on the 21st and have conferences after and then no school the next day on a Friday and still be a 3-day weekend. And that's what's indicated here on this calendar. Right, Cheryl? That's what the Pentagon and square means.
Can I get a motion to accept that?
I'll make a motion to accept that change.
Is there a second?
Sure.
Okay. So there's really no, it's not a significant, it's just a flip-flop.
Just flipping, yeah. So it would be Monday off. Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, you said it right. You got it right.
Monday is
Just
off instead of
clarifying.
Thursday for students. And then we have a day of school on Monday and conferences after.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. Okay, and this was listed as an action item, but it's more of an informational item, just to note that the calendar for the current school year, we did have the last day of school being May 31st, but in light of the fact that we had 2 snow days, we had a couple of delayed start days, and we had the water emergency, I guess you could call, for the city of Amery when the water towers emptied. My recommendation is that we have a school day on Friday, June 1st, and school on that day, and hopefully we don't have any further snow days.
It's been a great year of being late and missing them. Yeah. It's been a while since we had this many.
We're still not into the 4th. So
yeah. So, all right. So that'll make up whatever on that.
And I guess the interest in making this decision is because we believe it's what's in the best interest for student learning rather than just to not make up that day.
Okay. And that authority has been delegated, so unless there's anybody that's got a concern on that. All right.
Yeah. So last year when the board passed the calendar, they said that would be delegated to my authority.
Yep. As long as there's no, like I said, we're consensual on that. Okay. And then the second reading on the policy from last month. We made, I don't know.
We didn't make any changes.
I don't think so either. So.
I don't remember making it.
Yeah, no.
There might have been.
So I'll take a motion to accept that.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I don't believe we have any reason to go into closed session at all, so I think we'll just pass that. Next, we do need to come out, though, and vote on personnel items that were discussed in closed session.
Okay, and they are posted.
So I'll take a motion to accept those recommendations.
I'll make that motion.
And contracts. Is there a second? Yep. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Anything else anybody had? With that, I will take a. Yeah, just get it. So we'll be fine. Yeah.
They want to put it up.
Oh, all right. She could post it up as we're finishing up here. So with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Lynn, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Dale. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.